Good morning, everyone, or good day, good evening, good night, whatever the case may be. This morning I'm very excited. I found one of my favorite stories of grace actually it's in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, who, for those who may not know, which I doubt as many in the audience, but Sri Ramakrishna was a great saint, some say an avatar, an incarnation of God, in Calcutta around the turn of the century, here in the late 1800s. And you can read all about his life to kind of really get some wonderful wisdom teaching, some deep insights, and some wonderful examples of love and stories of love in all of its forms. But this particular story is really touching to me. It's the story of Bhagavati. She was a temple, a temple cleaner or helper or servant that helped clean around the temple that Ramakrishna was a priest for. And she comes to visit him one day, and she has a rather questionable past. Anyway, there's a poem or song really, that Ramakrishna sings to her that I want to spend some time on. But the story leading up to how the song happens has always really touched me, and so I thought I would share it with you. After a time, Bhagavati, an old maidservant of the temple proprietor, entered the room and saluted the master from a distance. Now she would have done that because she knew of her questionable past, and she didn't want to touch a holy man, so she sits toward the back, and I really identify with that. A lot of times when we think about our own condition and our own imperfections and shortcomings, a lot of times when we pray or when we sit and meditate, a lot of that stuff comes up and it gets in the way, and we kind of just sit toward the back, sort of out of the limelight, in a safe space, as it were, which is an irony, because really the safe space is right there, right up front. So she salutes the master from a distance, and Sri Ramakrishna asks her to sit down. The master had known her for many years. In her younger days she had lived a rather immoral life, but the master's compassion was great, and soon he began to converse with her. Master: now you're pretty old. Have you been feeding the Vaishnavas, the holy men, and thus spending your money in a noble way? Bhagavati, smiling, she's slightly embarrassed. She says, how can I say that? The master says, well, have you gone to Vrindavan or Benares, the other holy places, on pilgrimage? This time Bhagavati is starting to shrink a little bit back. She's being questioned about doing good things, and she's not doing them. And she says, ooh, how can I say that? But then she remembers she has done something good. She says, I've built a bathing place, and my name is inscribed there on a slab. And the master encourages her. He says, indeed. And she gets excited. She says, yes, sir, my name, Srimati Bhagavati Dasi, is written there. The master with a smile. How nice. How nice. This little thing that she's done, he's found it. He looked for the good in her. He was questioning her, trying to find something good that she had done, some valuable thing. And when he finds it, he just clings onto it, just really encourages it. And I love that about the master. He's always looking at us to see the best in us. And it could be through any of his incarnations, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Rama or Krishna or Chaitanya. All of these stories of Jesus, they're always the same, that they imbue us with our value. They see the very highest ideal in us and encourage that. They want to fan that flame. And I really think as people who are spiritual seekers, that's really our task, is not to go around and find out what's wrong with the world, or go around and talk about what's bad and cutting people off for what's wrong, and punishing people for mistakes and whatnot, judging people, having that kind of smug outlook on life. That's not our place at all. Our place is to look for the good in people and to fan that flame, to encourage it, to get excited about it, to be so happy to see goodness, and to really lift it up in each other, to bring that out, to bring that best, so that Christians can be better Christians, and Muslims can be better Muslims, and Vedantists can be better Vedantists, and Buddhists can be better Buddhists, and people can just be better people. Atheists can be better atheists. That we just really reach out with that encouraging eye that looks for the good and fans the flame. So she's telling him, yes, sir, my name, Srimati Bhagavati Dasi, is written there on a plaque at this bathing ghat. And the master, how nice. Emboldened by the master's words, Bhagavati approached and saluted him, touching his feet. Like a man stung by a scorpion, Sri Ramakrishna stood up and cried out, "Govinda, Govinda!" A big jar of Ganges water stood in a corner of the room. He hurried there, panting, and washed the holy water onto the spot that the maidservant had touched. The devotees in the room were amazed to see this incident, and Bhagavati sat as if struck dead. Now, if you end the story here, what a tragic story, But there's a great lesson here. The master in his compassion was warm and tender with her, but she was emboldened by the deed that she had done. Yes, sir, my name is written there. I've done something good. And she, based on that idea of accomplishment, she approaches him and touches his feet. And he is a holy man, absolutely stainless and pure, and it was painful for him. And he jumps up and goes and gets the Ganga water, which is that holy water, to take away the pain. He literally felt the pain because of his purity. Now, we might see that as a rejection, and certainly Bhagavati's feeling it. The story here says that she sat there in stunned silence as if she had been struck dead. And how many of us have felt that? How many of us have felt that kind of judgment, that cutting off from something that we had great hopes in and great hope for. But the story doesn't end here, because it says that Sri Ramakrishna consoles her and said in a very kindly tone, "You should salute me from a distance." In order to relieve her mind of all embarrassment, the master said tenderly, "Listen to a few songs." So Bhagavati, of course, she just endured a great shame, which is sometimes necessary to break us out of our ego identity. We need to understand that it's not our doings that make us good, it's the heart. It's the image of the beloved within us that makes us good, that is the value in us. It's not the ego, it's not our talents, it's not our abilities, it's not our accomplishments. It's not how long we meditate, it's not how much time we spend in prayer. That really, it's the quality of that Satchitananda in us that gives us our value. And any time that we approach the Lord, or approach our ideal, or try to reach a higher space in life, however you word it, it doesn't have to be involving God and words that make you uncomfortable. It's just our striving for unity, our striving for love, our striving for the highest ideal, striving to be the best that we can be. And that we should know that comes from the beloved, that comes from our nature, if you're more comfortable with words like that instead of devotional words. It comes from our nature. That's why all of our songs, all of our books, all of our poetry is all about love, inspired by love. All of our movies have a love story in them somewhere. We love hearing about it all the time because it's our nature. So he sits down. Yes, he's embarrassed her. She's been given the shock, the understanding of oof. Yeah, I am imperfect in my ego self. I do selfish things. I do wrong things. I do make mistakes. And that's not what I'm bringing to the Lord. What I'm bringing to the Lord is His very image within me, that love, that reflection of the divine. And Thakur tells her, he sits down with her. Thakur is a nickname for Ramakrishna. He says, "Dwell, O mind, within yourself. Enter no other's home." This is that idea of the mind finding its own sustenance within its own nature, that you are perfectly content and tranquil in and of yourself, seeing that each moment is perfect, that God is everywhere present and always perfect, the scripture says. So you have to step out of the particular perspective of ego, which gives things its values according to its judgments of body and mind conditions. Is that too heady? But we have to step out of that place to a different place, a place in the heart. And that we enter no other's home. What does that mean? Don't go into the senses. You see, if you read in the Christian scriptures, when Eve has her fall in the Garden of Eden, what the scriptures say happens, is that first of all she gets confused by Satan, in that story. And she's looking at the fruit and she sees that it's beautiful, that it's pleasing to the eye. Then she steps into the senses, which is stepping into another person's home, or not another person's, but another home, Steps into the senses, looks at it, sees that it is pleasing to the eye. And then the next thing that occurs to her is that it looks like it would be good for food. That not only now is she seeing its beauty, but now she wants to partake of that. She feels like she wants to have it. And why? The third thing that she sees in it, because she thinks it would give her wisdom. It would make her like God. And see, the interesting thing is that she already was. She was already in perfect union with the divine there in the Garden of Eden. But she stepped into the world of the limited senses, identified herself with the body and mind, and not with her spiritual self, not with her fully content and whole Satchitananda. And she went and took of the fruit and thought that she needed it. And so this song is saying, dwell, O mind, within yourself, find all your sustenance within, enter no other's home. If you but seek there, you will find all that you are searching for. So this is not a theory. This is not a proposition. The sages say you will find all that you are searching for within yourself. You don't need people who think you're beautiful. You don't need friends who are there to comfort you. You don't need, pretty clothes. You don't need a big house to give you honor. You don't need a big job to give you prestige. All of these things are going into the house of the senses, going into another house that's not native to you. Find all of that value within. He says, God, the true philosopher's stone. What is a philosopher's stone? It takes any base ore and turns it into gold. So he says, God, the true philosopher's stone, who answers every prayer. You see, he answers every prayer, and he answers every prayer in the affirmative, I believe. But the way that he answers those prayers is in proportion with the earnestness with which they're prayed. So if you're praying to become a superstar on the stage, but Saturday morning your 8 a.m. audition time comes and you decide to sleep in and skip it, God hears both of those prayers. He hears your prayers to become a great actress or actor, but then he also hears your prayer for more sleep and rest. He sums those two together and gives you the answer, which is basically a great actress who has no part because they didn't go to the audition. So see, run your life like that. That's why awareness is so very important in our life, so that our life, which is our prayer, our life, which is our sacrifice, that we can become aware of what we're praying for, and then pray for it with purpose, pray for it with earnestness and sincerity, and those prayers are always clearly answered. He says here, God, the true philosopher's stone who answers every prayer, lies hidden deep within your heart, the richest gem of them all. How many pearls and precious stones are scattered all about the outer court that lies before the chamber of your heart. So the good news in this is that at this very moment where you sit, you have everything that you need for a fulfilling life. You have everything that you need for contentment. You have everything that you need for your fulfillment. You don't have to run outside. You don't have to panic and try to attain things. Go inside and find that value, stamped in the image of the beloved in your heart. I talk about that again and again and again, because to know it is to be alive. To know it is to be in love. To know it is to be fulfilled. So today, approach the Master, sit in front of him, and let him sing to you of the wonders of the heart. And preach his word, hear the teachings, hear the ancient scriptures and mantras in the trees, in the birds, in the brooks, in life in general, and know that you're well on your way.